right, first thing, guys, make sure you, it doesn't matter, but this is quiz 10, not quiz 11. So it goes with homework check 10. I fixed everything I needed to fix and then didn't fix the top of the page. So it should say summative 10 and 2019, sorry. All right, Haley, do you have a question on this or something else? Okay. Number 3. Oh, this is just a reminder, guys, that you only have tonight, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday to finish any retakes on chapter 2. 1, 2, 3. This one? Okay. I feel like we haven't done one with a leading coefficient or a coefficient out here. Let me see what's happening with my tablet. So again, we have e to the x equals u. So this is a 3u squared minus u minus 10 equals 0. Are you okay with that step? Not really? Okay. Yeah. E to the 2x is the same as e to the x squared because we're multiplying, right? So if we let e to the x be u, this would become a u squared. And then the e to the x in the middle is just a u. Okay. And now we need to try to factor this, and there's a coefficient out front, so we need a 3u and a u. Then maybe a 5 and a 2. Anybody think how we can do that? Or a 10 and a 1? If we do a 2 there, we need a negative 1 in the middle, right?
Minus 2, so you get negative 6.
That seems right to me. So we get a negative 1 and a negative 10 at the back. So that was a little tricky factoring, but we got it. Those are equal to 0. If we set them each equal to 0, 3u plus 5 equals 0, we get negative 5/3. And u minus 2 equals 0, we get u equals 2. Are we done? No. Can we get an answer from this? The next step is to take the natural log, right, of both sides? So we'd have x times the natural log of e equals the natural log of negative 5/3, which isn't going to work because you can't take the log of a negative. And this one will be x ln of e equals ln of 2. Ln of e is just 1. So the natural log of 2 is an exact answer. And
That's
0.693, I don't know what it says. Nearest hundredth, so just 0.69. We could type it back in and see. It's not going to come out exactly 0 if we put 0.69 back in, but it's just kind of a pain anyway. Okay, you want me to go back and do number 1? The table above shows the population for a given ant colony. Let x be the number of days and y be the population in hundreds of ants. So we need to be careful that we remember that this label here shows up at the end when we do hundreds of ants. All right, but what do we start out with? Yeah, stat, enter. I don't have these in. 1, 3, 7, 12, 20. Oop, 12 didn't make it. Okay. I tried not to make it an incredibly large number of things to type in, but do proofread your list because obviously it's going to affect your answer if you type something in wrong, and I'm not going to know what you did. Okay, I think I have them in right. Scatter plot. Second y equals list 1 and list 2. Maybe you don't have to draw a scatter plot. I thought you did, but it doesn't say on here, does it? I'm going to clear out some garbage I have in my y equals, and then I'm going to do a zoom 9. That looks logarithmic to me, but I don't know what it says to do. Yeah, logarithmic it says. I don't know what it says on the quiz. Thought it was exponential, but maybe it's logarithmic. So if it asked for a scatter plot, there it is. Let x be the number of days and y be the population in hundreds. Write a regression for the logarithmic. Now, this is the tricky one. What is logarithmic model on your calculator? Do you remember when you go to... Yes, good call. It is LNREG. Basically, I think you would guess that because there's not one that says LOG except logistic, and it's not logistics. They would say literally logistic, remember? So it's LN, list 1 and list 2. You do have to store it because you're going to make a prediction. So var 0 to the right, enter, enter, or alpha trace. Okay. Calculate. Okay. It is an excellent fit, it says down here. If you have your diagnostics turns on, it doesn't ask that, but honestly, not sure that it says on the quiz how many places to round this part to. So I'm just going to go, it's A plus B ln of x. So it's 15.01 plus 19 point, this is not going well, 993 ln of x. If you rounded, if it doesn't say in the question and you rounded it to 15.01 and 20 ln of x, because you rounded to 2 places or 1 even, I guess it would be 19.99 if you rounded to 2. Okay, so we're going to use the whole stinking equation, though, to make our prediction. Our prediction is 35 weeks out. Now, I can use the graph, but I'd have to make my window go out to 35. Otherwise, I can use the table and plug in a 35. Yes. 86.09 or 0.10, 0.09. Or you could just say 8600 because it's hundreds of ants, okay? Either you have to write out hundreds or you have to move it back twice and say 8609 ants. But I would just label it hundreds. I think it's thousands on the quiz, but don't leave that off because it is part of the label. Questions? Number 7. Okay, 7 and 8, got it. Okay, the Newton's Law one. Okay, this I assume is what it looks like on the quiz, so it does use M for medium. What is your reference sheet use? It's not even on the reference sheet? Oh, it is. It uses M. Okay. I don't know why that one worksheet used S. All right. So this is the medium or the surroundings. All right. So we have 350-degree oven is our original temperature throughout the whole problem. It cools to 260. This is our final temperature only for finding K, right? 19 minutes is the time, and we only need that at the beginning. Later we have to find a time, but the room is the same temperature throughout the problem. All right. Final was 260 minus the medium or the room of 71 equals the original 350 minus the medium or the room of 71. E to the negative K, we're trying to figure out what K is, where T is 19. You okay so far? All right, somebody's gonna have to help me subtract. 189 equals 279? Is that right? E to the negative 19K. Then what, guys? Yes, and I never type it in, I just write it down. Equals E to the negative 19K. And then we need to take, because the K is in the exponent, we need to take the log of both sides. And then we can move that guy out front. So we'll have the log of 189 over 279 equals negative 19K. And we're going to have to divide by negative 19. $189 over got too many twos in there. But do I have it right otherwise, Xavier? Okay. And then it was divided by negative 19? Thank you. 0.0205, anybody? Okay. Then we get to try and go back and do it all over again. What changes the second time? This is not the final temperature anymore, and this is not time anymore, right? But we now have K. So this is our new T sub F. So it's 125 minus 71 equals 350 minus 71, or 279, because we already did that subtraction once. Negative 0.0205 T. Pretend you can read that. 54 is my guess. Somebody check me. Can I just keep going, or do you need me to explain? Everybody okay? We're just going to divide and take the log of both sides again. Anybody get an answer? What'd you get? 80? 82? 80.2? Roughly just 80? 80 minutes? Somebody else get that? 2 of you did? 3 of you did? Okay. It is a long time, but remember our K was really small this time. Okay? It only cooled, what, 90 degrees in 19 minutes. So it's not cooling very fast, this particular cake. All right. We could think about the physics and chemistry of that, but obviously some substances would hold the temperature more than others. All right. And I don't know if you've ever cooled a cake, but it takes longer than you want it to every time, right? Okay. Number 8, we for sure should do. A certain bacteria is dying. It is being halved every 9 hours. If 50,000 such bacteria are introduced to a petri dish, calculate the amount of time to the nearest tenth of an hour needed for the population to be under 6,000 bacteria. After rounding to the nearest tenth, find the actual number of bacteria under 6,000 that will be present. So, how many did we go under by?
50,000, taking away half every 9 hours.
Nice. So, our rate is going to be half, right? What else can you fill in? You said the initial was 50,000? And it is being halved. What goes in the exponent? Good job. T over 9. And we want it to get down to 6,000. Now it is decaying. It's going down. So if we want to fall below 6,000, we might need extra time at the end, right? We'll see what happens. All right, what do I do first and what do I don't do first? Yeah, don't multiply it times a half. We got to divide. That's not a bad decimal, is it? If we divide that out so I don't have to keep writing all those zeros. 0.12. Okay. And left over here we have 1/2 to the T over 9. All right. You care what kind of log we use? T is in the exponent, so we have to do the log of both sides. LOG this time, doesn't matter. LOG of both sides. And then the T over 9 is going to come out front. Okay. I don't have room. Then what do you want to do next? The order doesn't matter too much. Divide by the log of 1/2, maybe? So we get T over 9 equals the log of 0.12. Is that what you told me? Yes? Okay. Over the log of 1/2. I need some parentheses there, but maybe I'll type the original. It was 6,000 over 50,000. And then we're dividing by the log of 1/2. Now you guys used a decimal, but did everybody get that? 3.058. And what do we still need to do? Yeah, that was T over 9, so we need to multiply by 9. Not getting that, Martin? Okay. Log of 0.12 divided by the log of 1/2 It's the same, it should be the same. And then to get rid of divided by 9, we have to multiply by 9. So this is one of those problems where I think we have an issue. Let's try 27.5, okay? I don't think it's going to work. So we're thinking 27.5. If we put it back in, 50,000 times 1/2 to the 27.5 over 9, because it said round to the 10th. I got 614 roughly. 6D14, yes, 6,014. Did it go under 6,000? So what would we have to do? This was 0.5, no, only a tenth. This was 27.53, so what's the next tenth we could round up to? 27.6 hours. Now, if we change this to a 0.6, we're hoping to go over, or under, I'm sorry, 6,000. I don't know on the quiz. I think it rounds appropriately without you messing with it, but I got 5968. Oh, I'm writing with the eraser. That's not working so well. 5968 if I round to the nearest whole bacteria. Did somebody else get that? So that's not the answer, though. It wants how many under 6,000. Whoops, I can't. So 6,000 minus that, 32, anybody? Like I said, I don't think you have to mess with the rounding. I think it rounds by itself on the quiz. I don't think I made it tricky. Retake, maybe. Yes, which we get it fired up, we can do all of them. It doesn't take very long, right? N equals, Raquel deposits $375 each month into a retirement account that earns 3.2% interest. What is the value of the annuity after 20 years? What's N? Yep. I. PV. This is where students get things backwards. It is 0. Payment she's going to make into it is $375. Future value is what we're trying to figure out. And then P per Y and C per Y are 12. Apps, enter, 20 times 12, 3.2, 0, 375. Anybody get that? Okay, so is our answer negative? No. $125,840.55 should be her balance. Okay. Number 9, is this a finance app question? No, because it's just compound interest. So the formula, I don't know, I think it looks like this. Oh, it's A here and P here. I got the letters in the wrong spot, but the formula's right. Okay. So Grandma put $4,000 in. Said, I don't know if I'm going to be around in 17 years to help with college, so I'm going to put some money away for you now. What goes in for R? Ooh, this is an N. Sorry. What goes in for R? Yes, you got to move it 2 places backwards, so it's 0.061. Quarterly is, and 4 up here times 17 years later. And you really only need the 1 set of parentheses unless you have an older calculator, and then you need them up here. And make sure it's a reasonable answer. I get real frustrated when people make a mistake, and it's a very glaring mistake, because $4,000, first of all, can't become less if it's in a savings account, right? It can't probably become $1 million, right? It did do well. Did anyone else get 11,000 something? Okay. It tripled. 6.1 is pretty good. % interest, and 17 years is a really long time. All right. You want to do the last finance one, or you got something else you want me to go to first? You good? What is N on this one?
Monthly payments for 12 times.
35 years, right? That's a long time to borrow money on a house. I don't know that anybody finances for 35 years. Present value, payment, future value. This is different than the annuity, right? Why? Yeah, we want to end up owing nothing, and we started with $165,000. And you can say in the hole if you want, make that negative, and your payment will come out positive. Whatever makes sense to you, just so you put down a positive amount. 35 times 12, 420. Oh, 11% interest. Anybody else realize how high that was? I think my first house was really high too. Interest in the late 80s was super high. Yes, I know that's like ancient history to you. Oh, what's their payment, guys? Ouch. 1545.98. And how many years do they have to make that payment for? 1545.98 times 35 years of monthly payments. Youch.
Yeah.
All we can hope for them.
Wait, are you? That is the person who loaned them this money is making a good profit.
What would happen in a situation like this? Because like I said, when I first borrowed money for a house, it was a super high interest rate. Is when the interest rate goes down somewhere in those 35 years, they refinance. Okay, it just means you go to the bank, you pay off what you still owe on the original money, and you reborrow at a different interest rate for what remains of the loan. Does that make sense? Okay.
So you pay off.
Like if it was 10 years later, I probably still owe them pretty close to $165,000, seriously. But say it's down to 164, okay? I pay off the 164 by borrowing 164 all over again, thousand? At a much better rate, yes. And maybe I finance, maybe now because interest has gone down, my payment can stay close to that by financing for only 15 more years. That's what I did when I refinanced my house. The first time I borrowed my money on this current house that I have, the first time I borrowed, I was broke. So I made my payments as low as I could by borrowing as long as I could. Then interest rates dropped quite a bit. So I went back and refinanced, and I said, now I only want to pay on it instead of 25 more years. I'm only going to finance it for 15 more because my payment can go up a little bit, and I'm okay with that at this point in my life because I'm making more money. So you do what you can to save money in the end. What else, guys? Anything else on the review? Number 2? Okay, this is just a calculator question, but it is one that students sometimes type incorrectly. If we go to y equals, oh, you know what's going to happen. It's not going to work for anybody as long as what's happening. Anybody see what's on my screen right now? You can't, no, radians doesn't matter. You can't have a plot turned on. Yes, I think you said that. You can't have a plot turned on. So I could go second y equals and turn it off there, or I could just go to y equals and cursor up onto that and hit enter and it'll go off. But it'll give you an error message if you have a plot on that doesn't coincide with what you're doing. All right, we're going to put in 1450, but then what do we need around the bottom? E is on ln. 1 plus 52e. Use second ln because that will put you right up in the exponent. And come on, calculator, where are you? It's negative 0.6, right? Okay, that's got, you gotta be super careful that you don't type that wrong because that will totally mess up your answers. 0.6 and x. Now, we got to think about an appropriate window. What does x represent in this question? No.
The amount of time?
Yes, t is x, and it is years. Can we have negative years? Okay. It doesn't really give us, it says how many were at time 0, when will there be 100, blah, blah, blah. So what do we know it's going to grow to? 1450 on the top, right? So the y number, we can go 0 to 1500 maybe. But anybody want to take a guess on x? What do you want to do? How many years out? You want to try 20? We might have, the only reason we'd have to change it later is if it doesn't get to 100 deer, but I think it's going to grow faster than that, right? All right.
Oh, yeah, goodness.
So if we put in window 0 to, we said 20, and 0 to 1500. I'm not going to give a rip about my scale here. And I graph. Oh, that looks pretty good. Good window. Okay. So find the initial deer population. We have a couple options. We know it's in the window because we set the window up, so we could just go trace 0. Get 27 deer, or we could go to the table and put in year 0, and we get 27. So initially there was about 27 deer. When will there be 100 deer? This is the one students don't know how to do because they forget you're just supposed to do what?
You run the line.
Yes, put in 100 as a separate line and figure out when they intersect, which was not too long from the beginning of time, it looks like.
It's
Intersect, yeah, about 2.25 years.
so do you put down the exact years?
I don't know if it specifies. I would round to either the 10th or the 100th if it doesn't specify. I don't think I would put in, because it doesn't say over 100, so otherwise you'd round up to 3 years. But what will the projected maximum be? You could go out to 20 years or something if you wanted to see what happens out here. But the number should be the number on the top, right?
Yeah.
1450.
Pretty much.
It is the carrying capacity. And in theory, you could use the table and say, well, what happens 100 years from now? And it's going to round to 1450 by then, okay?
Okay. And do one of 4, 5, and 6.
Yep. Anybody? Oh, number 4 says you should change the question.
Multiply them.
Make it plus here in the middle so that it becomes a multiply that's much more like the quiz. If anybody did the review already, I'm not sure it had a solution doing it the other way, but might have. It would be, you wouldn't have to factor anything. But anyway, this is on the quiz, it is a plus. So what would I do?
Multiply. So
Okay, x times x minus 7, which we are going to distribute, equals, okay. Now that I have 1 log on each side, what can I do?
cancel.
Yeah, it's like you're exponentiating both sides, but it's going to go away. So then I do have x squared minus 7x equals 8. No one's going to do anything crazy. We're going to all set it equal to 0, right? And that factors how? There are factors of 8 besides 4 and 2, guys. Minus 8 and x plus 1.
And then this.
So we get 8 or negative 1. And if we put a negative 1 back in up here, we'd have negative 8, which we can't take the log of. Is 8 enough? Will 8 work?
Yeah, we want.
Yeah. Does anybody need me? Did anybody already do it? Want to talk about the other way with it a minus? Do you want me to talk about what the answer was, or you're okay? All right. It would have been x over x minus 7 equals 8. So when you crossed multiplied, you would have had x equals 8x minus 56, negative 7x equals negative 56. You would still get 8? Is that true? Did you get 8? Doing it the other way? That's just weird. Even if it's minus. It's because this comes out 0. Interesting. Either way you do it, you get 8. But the one on the quiz you do have to factor, okay? What's different about this one, guys? Yeah, you're not going to get rid of the logs until you exponentiate or rewrite this time. This would be the log base 3 of x times x minus 8 equals 2. What do you have to do here? Nope, it already has the log. Yeah, rewrite or exponentiate. It is 3 to the second equals x times x minus 8. You have to use the base in that question to rewrite it. So 9 equals x squared minus 8x, or 0 equals x squared minus 8x minus 9. Like factors, x minus 9, x plus 1, x equals 9 or negative 1. What can we keep? Everybody okay? You gonna remember that kind? Martin? You're making me nervous.
I'm tired of remembering. Inspiring.
And number 6, there's no base written here, but what is the base, guys? E, and if it said log with no base, the base would have been 10. Okay, so we rewrite this. How do we rewrite this? Or you exponentiate both sides. Okay, rewrite it. Y equals ln, which means there's a little e. And you either think of it as a big E on both sides, which this undoes, or you just think of it as rewriting it. And then what? Yeah, put the 7 on the other side by doing what? Subtracting, yes. I have, did we do all of them? The other one that I have that we could go through real quick is another one of those rounding ones. Anybody want to see one more of these crazy ones? Certain bacteria is dying if 20,000 are placed in a dish where it is halving every 6 hours. When is it under 800? So we would eventually get to this after I divided. I'm skipping steps. Everybody okay? So we have t over 6 equals the log of 80 over 20,000 divided by the log of 1/2. And then we're going to multiply by 6. I just don't know if we have to round special on this one. Log of 80 divided by 20,000. Got enough zeros there. Divided by the log of 1/2. And then times 6. It rounds to 47.8 because it's 47.79. So I'm thinking we aren't going to have to do any extra rounding because it already is rounding up. Then if I put that number back in up here, 20,000 times 1/2 to the 47.8 divided by 6, I got 79.95. Wow. Did I type that right? That's a lot under 800. Well, let's type it back in. 20,000 times 1/2 to the 47.8 divided by 6. Well, what if I did 47.7? Then it's at 80. Yeah, I must not have typed it in right. Okay, let me try again. Log of 80 divided by 20,000. 4 zeros, right? Okay. 4 zeros, yes? Okay. Divided by the log of 1/2. And then times 6 is 47.9. Okay, maybe when I typed it back in, I didn't type. I bet that's right. 20,000 times 1/2 to the 47.8 divided by 6. Okay. What?
Should be 27.
How did you?
The way I typed it in.
Oh, I keep typing 80. That's because I wrote 80 right here. Oh my goodness. No wonder. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So then it's 27 point... 0.86, so it rounds to 27.9? Okay. So now if I put in 27.9 divided by 6, I get 797. So it's only 3 under 800. Should be close, guys. It should be close to the number. Probably not going to have more than 100 either way. I knew it was wrong. It's because I wrote it down wrong. I was typing what I had written. All right.
It's not working.
It's not working.